Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I am your host, Professor Prime. So, what I wanted to do here is I want to continue our logic and literacy discussion. And what I did last time was, I talked about math as a foreign language, and I hinted that I had an example that would indicate that even within that, there's more to say. And I liken it again to English. There's because again, like I said, I feel like they're the same thing. It's just like different languages, right? So with English, I can write, I can talk, and if I draw a picture and I have a certain context with it, I can say some things about that too within context, right? And so it's the same with math, and so I have to know how to do things across the board. And so I wanted to give an example that illustrated different ways to talk about things. And like in my later videos where I'm actually getting into math, of course, going into more of that. So let's talk about pay. So let's say that, I am making $10 per hour and I want to figure out what I'm making at 50 hours. Now, a lot of you will be able to like approach that pretty easily and we'll do what I think most people would do here, where I'm like saying, okay, well, I know I'm making $10 an hour. I know I want to figure out what's happening after 50 hours, so I'm just multiplying 10 times 5, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm making $500, right? And so when I'm going this approach, I'm more focused on the numbers, and I'm arguably, handling this numerically. I'm able to do that. And then what I want to do is say that, hey, I can talk about this in different ways. So what we just did is we talked about numerically. And then if like that approach, but and I of course can talk about the results verbally like I am right now. So I can talk about the math and what's happening there. But I can take it further as well in two ways, right? Like I can show what that looks like through a graph if I wanted, with the idea being like at each step, at each hour, I'm going up. Um, and I'm making more money as the amount of hours I work increases. And then if I want to talk about it algebraically, I could do that too. And the idea with algebra is like I'm going to take some trends that I notice, and I'm going to be able to generalize. I'm going to be able to make some sort of equation that represents something. That's the whole point of it, right? Because we get caught up in the techniques, but like putting it in context, that's the key. That's why we do this. Well, I mean, I also do math for fun, but I think that that's the idea behind it for a lot of people. It's like, well, how can we use this? How can we talk about the universe? So let's say I have my pay, and I am saying that that pay, if I wanted to represent it algebraically, I'm going to say that that is the dependent variable, and the amount of hours that I'm working is my independent variable. And for that dependent variable, the pay, I'm going to call that y. And for my independent variable, I'm going to call that x. And that's the amount of hours that I'm working. And the idea is that those can actually be whatever, right? Like it's traditional to use like y and x. And honestly, that makes it easier, and that's why I'm using it. But I can call them table and I can call them chair, like, and it wouldn't actually matter. It would make it more confusing. But my point is, like, the variables themselves don't actually matter, but it's what they represent. And so anyway, right? So I have my y, I have my x, and then I look at what I'm making. I'm making $10 an hour. That's my rate of change. That's my slope. And of course, like I said, there's more on that in some of my later videos um, that I'll do. But the idea is like, so I can make an equation that would give me my pay rate at different hours, and that idea would be like I could say y equals 10 times x, right? And that's not too bad, I feel. And so we just took something that like we do and then we could do easily, but we have something that we can generalize it because like, okay, so I say y equals 10x. I work 50 hours, then I can just have y equals 10 times 50, which is 500. And the larger the number it gets, I can work with that too. And I feel like it gives us something to really work off of. And likewise, because of this connection, I could say that, oh, well, if I knew the pay, I can figure out the hours that I worked pretty easily too. But my main point was that you can talk about the math in different ways within that set language. And I think that's an amazing thing. And so what I want to do in the next video is I want to talk about some of the things that we talked about before and the implications and some other things that we could do to perhaps change the conversation of math. And over time, I want to like explore these ideas, and I want to be able to say more. And I want to structure my classes in a way where it really enforces the kind of things that I'm saying here. So I'll see you then. Professor Prime out.